All right, good morning. I'm excited to have you all here. So let's start with some personal growth. I'm excited about this. So the first thing I want to show you, and I'll put up on the screen here, is this right here is my core values. And this is a friend of mine introduced me to the spreadsheet concept last year, and I really, really loved it. And it makes a world of a difference to be able to have what you value most in one place. So this right here are my core values for this year. Now, every year for the last 4 years I've been doing this, I update them. My first time doing this, I had a word on there, jovial. I was like, such a nice word. I love it. And then the more I looked at the word, the less meaningful it was. So now this year I have fun because that's a lot easier for me to understand and comprehend. So not only do I have my core values, but I also define them. And that's one of the things I want to get done today. Because when you have clarity, again, it makes your decision making easy. So if you know what you could say yes to, you know what to say no to. So influence, fun, faith, love, courage, free. That's my core values for 2020. What does that mean? Those are the values that I want to embody. Those are the values that I want to live by in that order, 1 through 6. That's what's the most important things to me for me to have the best year of my life. Now, that might be the same for every year, but it's definitely going to be what's needed most for me for 2020. Now, what's interesting is some people will put things like family. People will put things like, very specific faith, family, nature. There's very generic or general words. It doesn't matter. There's not a right or wrong way. It's just whatever word you look at and it brings you some level of juice is important. So you want to have your 5 or 6 words that you pick out, and we're going to define them today. We're going to define what those mean to you. So if you don't have your 5 or 6 words yet, no big deal. You want to create them as we go through this. So that's number 1. Number 2 is on here. Well, this is something that we're going to have created for you by the time the Alliance is done and by the time we're done with our morning workshop. So one of the things I have is my goals and affirmations. So what I have here is I have my affirmations, my I am statements. These are my power virtues, the things that I could read to myself at any point in time that helps me control my thoughts, to help me embody the person that I want to be, to give me intentionality for my day. Then I have my all the time goals. I have my 30-day goals. I have my 6-month goals, my 1-year goals, 5-year goals, and 10-year goals. And that way it's all in one place. By the time the Alliance is done, all of you will have not a spreadsheet, but you're going to have a poster that you're going to create. And eventually, if you want to update it and put it onto a spreadsheet, by all means, that's what we're going to do. And that way you can look at this thing and you know your goals, you have your I am statements, your power virtues, and you have your core values defined all in one place. So anytime during 2020, if you get distracted or you get lost or you feel confused or you feel like you need a little bit of something, that's what we're working towards. So every day, we got 30 minutes a day to build towards this thing. And I just wanted to show you what the finished product looks like. So clarity is power. And I'm really excited to introduce you to this concept. So to help us with this, we're going to play a video. And this video that we're going to watch is called the Rapid Planning Method. Tony Robbins talked about it yesterday in our video yesterday with the purpose video, and he said RPM. This is a 12-minute video that he's going to talk about how to actually use RPM. And RPM, if you remember from yesterday, the Rapid Planning Method is results, purpose, massive action plan. Results, purpose, massive action plan. So it's going to help you get more intentional with your time. So it's not a matter of how much time we're spending, it's what we're accomplishing. I'm going to pull this up on the screen. We're going to start right now, and then we're going to debrief. We'll define your values, and that's probably about how much time we'll have for this morning session. Monday morning, get ready, because then we're going to really dig into some goals and start putting your thoughts together for your poster. So it's going to be great. So let's go ahead and bring up Mr. Tony Robbins again. And again, if you don't know who Tony Robbins is, you need to. He is the guru when it comes to self-help. He is the man when it comes to helping you get personal clarity.
Because your brain will be thinking in outcomes and not activities. And when you think in terms of outcomes and not activities, pretty soon some of the activities you just need to do to get the outcome. You find a better way to get the outcome quicker. Now, how do you do that? Yes, 3 questions. Question 1, what is my
outcome?
What is my outcome? Result? What is it I really, truly want from this? If you're going back next week, and you say this next week, what are the most important outcomes for me to get this week in my business? And you just write those outcomes out, not your action items, the outcomes. If you do that and nothing else, you'll be ahead of the game. And if you just keep looking at those outcomes every day, how am I doing on that outcome? Your brain will come up with ways to get to that outcome. I promise you. Focus on outcomes, not on activities. Action for most people. Activities, most people mistake movement for achievement. They mistake action items and to-dos for achievement. We're after the achievement. Are you with me on this? Yes or no? It's a different way of thinking, and I think all of you inherently have it. But if you make this ritualized, just like the things you've learned this week, they're all great, but if you don't systematize them, they'll work when you do them. But if you systematize them, right? And you see like Mr. Hallman here, where he goes in and just does it, makes sure it's being done again, or what you've seen Chet do, or what I do. You just do it over and over again, you don't miss it. Now the results are geometric. So I want to get you to systematize the thinking, whether you do it visually the way I'm going to show you or not. So, first question, what's the result I'm after? What's the ultimate result, what I want out of this week, out of this thing, out of my business, out of my life, out for my body? And you want to be as possible when you describe that outcome, that result. As what?
As clear.
As clear and specific as possible. Generalities will confuse you. So it might take you longer than just writing down call so-and-so to think, if I'm calling my son, I'm going to call Jarek, or I'm going to call my brother. This is what goes through my head before I call him, always. What's my outcome? Because I don't want to just call him. I want Jarek to feel loved by his dad. Or I'm thinking about what's my outcome. I've got to talk to him about this thing that's out there. I've got to make sure I get through to him on this because I want to guide him and move him in this direction. That's what I want to be as his father. I don't want to just chit-chat. I can do that too. If you think before every phone call, before every time you're planning your day, and you think before you have any meeting, what do you think the first thing I ask of anyone when we sit down in a meeting is? Okay, what are your outcomes? What are the outcomes for this meeting? First thing I want to know, because if I know the outcomes, guess what? A lot of meetings, they're done pretty quick. Because if I know the outcome, you don't have to go through all the activities to sell me on it. Just, that's your outcome? How do you want to do it? Sounds good to me? Rock. That's how you make a meeting productive. I know a meeting's productive not by the hours or time. Sometimes it takes longer to the outcome than you want, but I'm going to get the outcome. That's, by the way, what you see with me on stage. That's why my times vary. It's based on an outcome. I'm going to get that outcome. I don't give a damn whether it's the right time or not. I want to do it that time, but I must deliver the outcome. How many get that?
Yep.
And by the way, how many like to have your company focused on outcomes, results, and not activities? Say I. People say all the time, well, did you get that done? Well, I left them an email. I left them a voicemail. I sent them 3 emails. How many times you heard that? When that happens with me, I'm like, but I don't show it. I just like, really? Wow, that's fascinating. We'll explain about our culture. It's about getting the result. So I can help you if you can't figure another way to do it, but there may be 12 other things we might want to do. Maybe they don't have the answer. Maybe somebody else can give us the answer. The outcome was to get this information, not to leave an email or 12 or 3 voicemails. That will not do any of us any good. How many follow?
I just want to pause for just a second. I want to make sure that this is crystal clear on not just business. I know it's easy for Cutco. It's easy for business. Like, how many calls am I making? How many appointments am I booking? How much am I selling? How many names and phone numbers am I getting? Like, you can quantify it. But man, this shows up in all facets of life. And when you look at your goals for 2020 and you look at what you want to create for your life, how awesome is it if we could go in with an intentionality to every activity? Now we're human, and it's very challenging to do that because we have 50,000 thoughts a day. So it's like really challenging to be that intentional. But how sick would it be going into school and you sit down for study session and you're like, what are my outcomes? Versus I have to go study. Oh my gosh, such a generalization when it comes to studying, where you just sit there for probably an hour just thinking about what you have to study versus actually saying, What do I need to get accomplished right now? What do I need to learn in this moment? What do I need to comprehend for this next activity, for this next class or whatever it is? So awesome. I just want to make sure that is echoed because that was big. Cool.
Now, whether you get the outcome or not, whether you get that result, will be based first, do you have clarity? And the second thing is, whether you got enough emotional juice to keep going after it when things don't work out. So the second part of RPM is the purpose. RPM, by the way, how many knows what it means when you increase the RPMs in a car? Anybody here? What does that do? It builds up what? Power, speed. Higher RPMs, you can explode through something, right? You can make something happen. So think of this metaphorically also, this rapid planning method, this result planning method. So it's rapid planning, it's a result planning. You want a results-focused, purpose-driven, massive action culture. That's what RPM stands for. It's how you build up power and you break through. But whether or not you get that result will be, are you clear and specific? But also, do you have enough juice when it doesn't work out? How many of you are going after an outcome in your day or in your week, and for whatever reason, you're not able to get it? The person doesn't respond, they're not there, the thing's not there, something interferes, somebody interrupts you. Who's had their plans interrupted? Raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
So whether you keep doing it or not is, do you have enough emotional juice? See, guys, you all know out of this week, you got more than enough to take your business to a whole nother level. You got more ways. You can go home and be artists now. And somebody, went by so fast, but many of you have the program, you'll watch enough times, you'll be there. Somebody's going to invite us in, we're going to be there and make sure you do it. So it's going to happen. But the art of it being followed through or not is going to come to you have the emotion to follow through, and that needs to be a part of your thinking also. So the next question I've always asked, besides the outcome, is why? Why is more important than how? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose? Purpose is more powerful than object. Purpose is more powerful than object. You say, I want $1 million. That's a great objective. I want $1 billion. Great objective. I want to feed 3,000 children in my community. That's a beautiful objective. It's even more specific. But even that objective, you might get excited about, so you realize what it takes to feed 3,000 kids. Right? And the politics involved, and all the people that don't follow through. And then you have this good intention, and somebody else is pissed off because one of the kids didn't get fed. Right? And you did everything you know how to do. What's going to make you keep going? Purpose. Why do you want to feed those 3,000 kids? Why do you want to make that $1 million, that $1 billion? Why are you going to take your business to the next level? Why is the most important thing to know, because that's where all the emotional juice and fuel is to actually get you to go through when the challenges show up. Every person you see who's on fire and is successful knows the why. You know what the problem is? You might know the why in the beginning. You wrote a mission statement and stuff like that. You got to know why you're doing this right now. This right now. That's what's going to engage you and activate the why. You might have a why, but it's not active. How many follow the difference what I'm talking about here? Say I. Otherwise, that little law of familiarity shows up. Well, we're doing this because and you repeat the why, but there's no emotion behind it. Yes. See, if I take a stick pin, no, I don't see anything like that, but when a woman has a blouse, they have like a little stick pin in it. Let's think that stick pin is a word. And I take that stick pin and I throw it at you. Are you going to feel it? Barely. But if I take that little stick pin called a word and I wire it to the back of a giant iron bar called emotion, now I can take that stick pin and put that thing right through your heart. That's the power of why. RPM. R is the result, the outcome. What you're after, P is the purpose. It's the why. 80% of success is why. 20% is how. Get a big enough why, people figure out how to do it. Yes. How many agree with me on this? Say aye.
Aye. So
you better know your why. So, talking to the president, tell me something. What's your outcome? And then why. And then once we know the why, we know what you're after and why, then the question is, how do we do it? We know what we're after, why, how do we do it? By the way, are there lots of hows to get to an outcome, yes or no? Yes. Are there many paths to get a result, yes or no? Some are more efficient than others. And you're not going to know. So you know what you do? You brainstorm out all the hows you can think of. All the things you could possibly need to do to get that result. And then you narrow it down to the 20% that makes 80% of the difference. And you'll find out you don't have to do that whole to-do list. In fact, wouldn't it be nice to write your whole to-do list and not do it and still get the outcome? How many prefer that? Say aye. That's RPM. I love it when I don't do my to-dos and I got the outcome. That's the coolest thing in the world. You might have done one or two of them, but it's then learning selectively which ones are going to create it. But the only way to do that is to brainstorm out the M, the massive action plan. If I know the result I'm after, I know what it is I want, what's the outcome, what's the result, what do I want specifically, clearly, and I know the why, and the why has got to move who? Who does the why have to matter to? Well, if it's a why you're trying to get everybody to deal with, they got to have a why involved in it. But people do things for different reasons. People donate money for different reasons. Some of you donated money the other day here because you were moved by the experience. Some of you did it for connection. Some of you did it to contribute. Some of you felt guilty if you didn't do it, somebody else did beside you. Or you have a lot of money and you feel guilty about it because you didn't earn it. I'm not saying anybody in this room, but that's how some people are. They inherited it, so they feel guilty. Some people do things to get their name up on the wall. Some people today do it anonymously and then tell everyone. Isn't it true? Yeah, just confidentially, that was me. And everybody tells everybody that it's anonymous. They're doing it for significance. Some do it for connection. Some do it for contribution. I don't care why a person does it, but we do it. But if you're going to work with a group of people, you better make sure the why touches on all their needs. Does that make sense? When it's you, whose why does it have to be? Whose why does it have to touch? Whose purpose does it have to be? Your own for you to be moved. So if you know the result and you know the purpose, now you need the M, which is the massive action plan. We also call the massive action plan the map. It's your massive action plan, your map. How are you going to get there? What are you going to do? And by the way, when you're crystal clear on what you want and you know why you want it, you can make a big map. You can brainstorm a million ways to do it. Not all your houses are going to work. That's why you make a whole map. And then go back and gradually asterisk the ones that are the most important and go hit those. You might get the whole outcome in the first two action items and get rid of your whole rest of your list. This is RPM. This is how I operate. Now, if you never did this on paper and you just did this thinking process in your head, you'll get invaluable resources. If you learn to put this on paper, it'll be more powerful because then your brain is erasing and you can see it. If you make it into a system that you personally use, your productivity will explode. If you teach your whole company to do this, your company will go to levels you can't even imagine because everyone will.
I'll tell you right now, this concept is what's leveled up our business here in Tampa for sure. You could ask my staff. You know, one of the things that we did every single staff meeting was talk about these are the outcomes that we want. How are we pacing towards them, and what do we need to do to get there? And we constantly talked about our purpose of constantly building the Bay, the hashtag Build the Bay, of providing jobs to people and being the premier opportunity for young professionals in the area. Like, we talk about this nonstop behind the scenes. So for you want to treat your life as a business, you know, and when you can operate in these terms of like, what do I want, why do I want it, and how do I get there? I promise you, it's absolutely life-changing when you sit down with your schedule. It's absolutely life-changing when you sit down in a conversation. So with that being said, we want to tie that into the values, okay? We want to tie that into values. First and foremost, any light bulbs, anything you heard during this that you're like, dang, I needed to hear that, or that really connected with me. Any one of you, or maybe one, maybe two, just for time's sake. Charlie, what was something you heard that you're like, that kind of connected with me, or I need to hear that?
Words themselves aren't necessarily as powerful, but it's the emotion behind the words that can really knock you on your ass. Like, the emotions are much more powerful than the words themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And the words are triggers, right? They're a trigger to the emotion. And one of the things that we're going to do is an incantation during the course of our Alliance morning sessions on how to take your words, take this language, and penetrate emotion with that word. And that's one of the activities. It's a little odd. If you thought the breathing yesterday was odd, this is way more strange. But it allows you to activate the emotional juice that Tony was talking about during this message right here. So excellent. Appreciate you for sharing that, Charlie. Let's go ahead and let's move to the values. Okay, so let's go to your values list, and let's try to create some emotionally charged words to that values list. So the values list that I had for mine, okay, I'm just using them as a demonstration, as an example. If you ask Jeff Gamboa, he'll tell you, his are a lot different, and people approach this exercise in a very different way. This is just what my coach that I've paid lots and lots of money to work with, Andrew Biggs, this is what he's taught me how to do, and that's what works for me, and that's what I want to teach you. So I can only teach with congruency of what I know works for me. So when I put the word influence, and by the way, just so you could see something I've been doing. I've been doing it. I try to do it every day. I haven't been as disciplined yet, but since I did this exercise in, I don't know, I guess I started it 12-14. I'm doing my best to try to write it every day, 12-15, 12-16. And once you get clear of 12-19, 12-21, of what those core values are, the I am statements, what your vision for 2020 is, and then I narrowed it down to 4 words. In fact, I have a book called Your Best Year Ever. Taking this, that whole book, that book is to get to this outcome. So it's on one sheet of paper where I know. So that's what I want for each of you, where it's very clear. So when I put the word influence, I don't have it memorized yet because I just defined these a couple weeks ago. But eventually, very soon, it's going to be in my unconscious where I could just rapid fire and just say, this is how I define influence. This is how I define fun. This is how I define faith, love, courage, free. This is how I define it. Not how it's defined by Webster, how you define it. And that's what I wanted to give us a chance to do right now. So we got about 7 minutes or so. I'm going to turn on some music. I want you to take your 5 or 6 values and I want you to define them. I want you to define them of what it means to you. And I'll put mine up on the screen so you could see them. That might help you. Maybe it doesn't, but it's just how you define it. Because I was guilty of this the first time I did it, where I freaking forgot what my values were. Like, I spent an hour figuring them out, 2 hours, half a day. And then I was like, oh, all right, I figured it out. And then I didn't look at it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to put it up on my screen on my phone so I could look at it. And I still unconsciously forgot, what was my number 5? Let me pull it up, and I just wasn't actively using it. And that's why I want to encourage you to do this exercise so you can actively revisit what your values are. So I'll pull it up on the screen for you. As far as mine, these are just examples for you. You could use those as a follow if you'd like. I'll turn on some tunes. And we'll end this here in about 5 minutes. So about 5 or 6 minutes. So see what comes up for you. Yeah.
Can I please see the jacket line? I'm freezing. Thank you.
All right. So let's go. So I guess this screen share is not a. So influence. I define influence as contribute to meaningful work that makes a positive difference in people's lives. That's how I defined influence. Many people will define influence very differently. That's how I defined it. I defined fun as, I can just read it from my journal. Fun, enjoy the process and experience playful expressions in the moment. So that's how I define fun. Faith, vision of exciting future, even if it goes different as planned. It's how I define faith, love, ability to receive full enjoyment and joy from the smallest gifts in life, consistently and unconsciously. It's how I define love, courage, live big and push through discomfort, commanding my presence, and free. Experience unattachment, calmness, and lightness, removal of emotional barriers to give and receive openly. They used to be abundant life, and I would look at that, and then it lost meaning. So I had to change the word from abundant life to free. And I also moved it from my number 1 to my number 6 because it's like abundance is really important. There's no doubt about it, but it's not going to serve me at the highest level for 2020. I need to tap into my ability to influence even more and tap into calmness even more. I need to level up my masculine energy a little bit more than my feminine energy for 2020. And this is some personal clarity that I've went through, which I'm offering just a thought for you today. So let's see what comes through. You got about 5 minutes.
Intense music.
So define your core values, each one. And for Facebook friends, thanks for joining in. Hopefully you got some value. But since we're just doing the exercise, you can just go and do it. I'll see you Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. And we'll be going over some 2020 goal setting, which is going to be fun. Have fun. Enjoy your day.